fate of repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell may still rest with the irrational and increasingly bogus objections of the senator from Arizona, John McCain. And in our third story tonight, the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, says he will follow McCain's lead. But Senator Joe Lieberman says that the Senate should remain in session until Don't Ask, Don't Tell is repealed. But is that an empty demand? The Senate Minority Leader, McConnell, sided with McCain without citing any substantive reason to keep the discriminatory policy. Senator McConnell also threw in the favorite GOP excuse: we're running out of time.
You know, people are talking like that. That is the only issue. That defense bill also has abortions in military hospitals. Once you get on the defense bill, it typically takes 2 weeks. I don't see how we can possibly finish the defense authorization bill, a 2-week bill, wholly aside from these controversial items that are in it. There are a whole lot of other things in it before the end of the year. My personal view is that Senator McCain is correct on this. I intend to follow his lead. We'll find out when we finally get around to debating this bill, which I think will not be before the end of the year.
So the defense authorization bill typically takes 2 weeks, according to McConnell. And even that is a revision from September, when McConnell claimed that the defense authorization bill requires 4 or 5 weeks to debate. But neither claim is true. A senior Democratic aide did some research, according to Brian Butler of Talking Points Memo, and found that in the past 20 years, the defense authorization bill has taken longer than 7 days only 4 times. On 9 different occasions, it took 5 days or less. One year during President Bill Clinton's term, it took 1 day. Meantime, Senator Joe Lieberman has endorsed the idea of the Washington Post's Jonathan Capehart, quoting Lieberman's tweet: "Keep Senate in session until Don't Ask, Don't Tell repealed. If not now, when?" But if Don't Ask, Don't Tell is placed last on the Senate agenda, there will be nothing to effectively force Republican senators to stay in town rather than just go home. And now Defense Secretary Robert Gates has expressed concern about whether Don't Ask, Don't Tell will be repealed in this Congress. Speaking in a town hall type meeting aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln, he said, quote, "I'd have to say I'm not particularly optimistic that they're going to get this done. I would hope that they would. My greatest fear is that we will be told that this law will be overturned by a court and we will have to implement it without any time for preparation." As for Senator McCain's most recent objections, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid has expressed his deep frustration. Quote, "And his latest trick, he said yesterday that he opposed repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell because of the economy. I repeat, the senior senator from Arizona said he couldn't support repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell because of the economy. I have no idea what he's talking about, and no one else does either." Joining me now is Alexander Nicholson, a former U.S. Army human intelligence collector who was discharged under Don't Ask, Don't Tell in 2002. He is now the executive director of Servicemembers United and the plaintiff in the Log Cabin Republicans lawsuit against Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Thanks for your time tonight.
Of course.
Is it disheartening, if unsurprising, that the Senate Minority Leader would line up behind Senator McCain?
It really is, if for nothing else than simply because Senator McCain really is representing the far fringe of his party on this issue. I mean, 80% of the American public wants to get rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. You can't even get 80% of the American public to agree that the sky is blue. I mean, you have a majority of Republicans, independents, weekly churchgoers, self-described conservatives, even Tea Partiers saying that Don't Ask, Don't Tell needs to go. So you have Senator McCain here now to the right of the Tea Party. And so if the Republican Party is thinking now that the policies of the Tea Party are liberal, then I think they're in big trouble moving forward.
So McCain is basically just lending himself as some type of cover for this whole thing, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It has really come to the point of ridiculousness. I mean, I really just don't even know what else to say. I used to have so much respect for John McCain's independence, for his maverick personality, as he used to say. But so many people I've talked to have said that exact same thing. I used to have so much respect for John McCain's politics, but not anymore. He's really just, coming across as a grumpy old man now who just wants to obstruct at any cost. It really seems, I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, but it seems like there's a big element of ego in there and a lot of bitterness in there. It's just really disappointing to see him come to this point.
Now, part of the GOP strategy, possibly its chief strategy, is to simply run out the clock on repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Push it to the next Congress, which will obviously have a greater Republican minority in the Senate. Do you see anything to stop that strategy from working?
Yeah, I think the one thing that could stop it from working is if Senator Reid would give the bill about 5 or 6 days of floor time. You know, I mean, we know we have the votes lined up. That's the bottom line. We have the votes lined up. We know the conditions for those votes, for the couple of Republican votes we need, and those conditions are a reasonable number of amendments, so 10 to 20, and then a reasonable amount of time to debate each amendment, a half an hour, whatever they can work out. We have the votes lined up. If Senator Reid will give the bill, the defense bill, a reasonable amount of floor time, that's what can defeat their obstruction.
Is it simply about the length of time, or does it concern you that debate of the START treaty will precede any debate on Don't Ask, Don't Tell, making it less likely that there's incentive for people to stick around for a Don't Ask, Don't Tell debate?
Well, that's a really good question. The START treaty, some of the other issues too, like the DREAM Act coming up before the defense bill has a chance to come up, is a big concern to us. You know, the defense bill needs to come up, be voted on, you have to run the clock out on a couple of motions, and then it goes to conference for a week or so. The natural, I think, schedule for dealing with these issues after the tax cuts deal, I think, is to bring the Defense Authorization Act up, start the process on that, and then while the defense bill has been finalized, while it's in conference, then tackle those other issues. Tackle START, tackle DREAM, whatever you want to do, but do the defense bill first. You know, with START, they could even easily do that in the next Congress. I think they'll have the votes to do that even with more Republicans coming into the Senate. But it is a big concern that they want to tackle the DREAM Act and START and a couple of other things before they even get around to NDAA.
Alexander Nicholson, Executive Director of Servicemembers United, thank you for joining us tonight.
You're very welcome. Thanks to be here.